Hey guys, it's Greg Tastic here, and today I wanted to talk about a little battle that Microsoft and Apple are having right now over a Microsoft service called Xcloud. Before I get into the video, I just want to, you know, put it out there that neither one of these companies have a perfect history as far as treating the consumer right, but I feel like Microsoft is starting to make inroads to being more consumer friendly here and there, and especially their Xbox brand has done that lately. Before we get started in going into what's actually happening, I figure I should explain what xCloud is in case you have no idea and clicked on the video and don't know or want to know. Basically, what it is a game streaming service. If you have a subscription to something called Ultimate Game Pass through Microsoft or Xbox, you have access to certain first party and third party games that are supported, and this xCloud service will allow you to stream those games onto a device like a phone or a tablet and play them without having an actual console. So theoretically, I think the service is $15 a month, and you can never buy an Xbox One, or when Xbox Series X comes out, you can never buy an Xbox Series X. And for $15 a month, you'll get access to a certain amount of games supported by Microsoft, and you'll be able to play those games on a device of your choosing to a degree, as we'll get into in a second, without having to actually own a console. So you'll be streaming it over the internet. It's like Google Stadia, only it kind of becomes instantly better because it's going to be supported by Microsoft, which has more of a foot into the gaming world at this point, where Stadia is struggling to come up with a library of games, and you need to pay for those games. You know, if you buy a game on Stadia, you still need to pay for it, like you're buying the game, as where Microsoft will not be charging you for the games individually, they'll be charging you the monthly subscription fee. So, what's going on here? On Android, so if you have an Android phone or tablet, this is going to be ready to launch very shortly. And you'll just be able to download the app and play your games. Okay? But what Microsoft and Apple are going back and forth about right now is due to Apple's uh, guidelines or restrictions, rules, whatever, with their App Store. They're saying that this app cannot be released as is for iOS. In their statement, they basically suggest that each game needs to be submitted and cataloged in their App Store individually for each game that Xbox would offer needs to be submitted and cataloged to the App Store individually for the service or the app to be put on the App Store. Before we get into this, I'm just going to put it out there that I've never been a big fan of Apple for reasons like this. Uh, I have an iPhone now, and I've had one for the past year, year and a half. But for a long time, I avoided iPhones like the plague. I tried iPhones out around the iPhone 4 time, and it was just too many features that I used on an everyday basis. Like, I don't know, a file explorer weren't offered on the phone, and I felt very uncomfortable and went running back to Android. Now, I decided to go with the iPhone just because I spend so little time on the phone interacting with it, as far as playing games, using apps, stuff like that. Uh, at work, I spend 8 to 10 hours at work, and I don't have time to look at my phone and do a lot of stuff. So, more important to me now is communication, such as phone calls, FaceTime, iMessage type stuff, and listening to things via Bluetooth. So honestly, yes, the iPhone is more reliable in those areas than Android is, because Android still, even within their own ecosystem, doesn't offer universal uh, things like iMessage or FaceTime. Like, is getting better, but they're still relying on carriers to implement some of that stuff, and then different phone manufacturers use different protocols, and yeah, let's not get into it, but basically you can't buy Android phone A and automatically be able to do all these things with Android phone B like you can with the iPhone 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, you know. So I'll give Apple credit where credit's due. They not limit their hardware, but there's only one manufacturer, so they have control over everything, and there are a lot of benefits to that. But where I always had an issue is like their closedness with the platform, and how there's a lot of things that you could do on Android or any other device, computing device like a computer or a tablet or, you know, whatever, on any other operating system that is extremely difficult or impossible to do on iOS. And I get the reasons for that. We're not going to get into everything today, but just always had an issue with iOS. So basically, getting back to Xcloud, they're saying that it's because each game would need to be submitted and cataloged to the App Store. And Microsoft made a statement back at them. I'm going to post it, not post, whatever, put it on the screen so you could read it. But the basic summary of that statement is they're saying that Apple, it's not going to work what Apple wants, and that Apple kind of like has a closed mind or treats gaming apps differently than they do other apps on their app store, including, you know, other apps with interactivity, even if it isn't a game. And they say that all the games are already rated by the ESRB or other rating companies depending on what region you live in. So this argument kind of makes sense to me. Okay, so first of all, if the sole issue was Microsoft submitting and cataloging all the games to the App Store, I don't understand why that would be an issue. Why Microsoft wouldn't just not hire, but have one person at their company just spend a day submitting all the games. What I didn't understand about this is that Netflix exists, and you could stream any movie or TV show you want over Netflix, and it's technically, I don't know. Like I know BoJack Horseman is one of my favorite TV shows on Netflix that is not available elsewhere. So I took my iPhone and I searched for BoJack Horseman, and it shows you the TV show, it shows you the rating, and then it says open your Netflix app if you want to play this. So if like it's that simple, why could uh, Microsoft not just put the game on there and they say, okay, if you want to play this, open xCloud? Also, I know for a while Netflix was so before I get too far ahead of myself, let's just kind of brainstorm, you know, I don't take Apple at face value in saying that the issue is that they need to submit and catalog games on the App Store. So let's brainstorm other reasons that they may not. By the way, this is not just an xCloud problem, this is also a Stadia problem where Google can't get Stadia onto the platform either. So let's brainstorm some reasons why this can't work, besides the obvious that all three of these companies are kind of big competitors with each other in different ways, as far as Microsoft having an operating system and Apple having an operating system, and Google the same, but you know, one on a mobile front and one on a uh, desktop PC front, if you can call them PCs. I think they're still PCs. The first thing that comes to mind is Apple has their own subscription service, Apple Arcade, which they might not want these other services to compete with, because quite honestly, they are offering something that Apple Arcade is not offering at this point, or offering a library or catalog of games that I don't think Apple Arcade could match. My second thought was, let's take Apple at face value. The games need to be reviewed and submitted or whatever. Like, that, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if that was the case, why wouldn't Xbox just review and submit them? So the third thing that makes the most sense to me is it's a money issue where Microsoft is offering the app itself. Here's where things become confusing to me. The app itself is nobody has to pay for the app. It's a free app. As far as rating the app, you could just call the app mature. Like, that's done in a lot of instances where you download an app or something where you may not be playing mature games. You may be playing all e-games for everyone, but you rate it mature anyway because mature games are available, and that makes things simple. So that doesn't make sense to me. Um, what makes sense is that even though the app is a free app, or would be a free app, and is offering a service, is the fact that people are spending $15 a month on this service, and Apple is probably sitting there talking to Microsoft about, well, all these people are going to be accessing this service on iOS. Where's our cut of that $15 a month? So what confuses me is I kind of looked into, my Googled, does Netflix pay Apple for subscriptions? And what's crazy is Netflix used to be paying Apple hundreds of millions of dollars for people subscribing to Netflix. Basically, I think it was 30% of new subscriptions and then 10 or 15% of monthly subscriptions after the initial month. So Apple was making upwards of $500 million a year just off of their cut of Netflix subscriptions. But what I read, and didn't read anything more current to argue this, is that Netflix doesn't offer the subscription service through iTunes anymore to cut Apple out of it. So couldn't Microsoft just do the same? Is it that Microsoft wants something, or is it that I heard somebody suggest that maybe on top of not just the subscription fee, that Microsoft would also be selling DLC, microtransactions, or games in the app, and maybe Apple wants a cut of that too? Or maybe Microsoft said, okay, we'll give you a cut of the subscription fee, but we're not going to give you a cut of every DLC, every game, every this and that we sell. I don't know. So basically, despite what Apple says, I think it comes down to money and them wanting their cut of what Microsoft is going to be doing on the store. And I guess Microsoft can't stomach the cut that Apple wants, which, if that's the case, I understand both ways. Microsoft is just trying to offer you an app for you to access something that you could otherwise access without that operating system or phone or whatever. And Apple saying, well, you're going to be using our install base to help grow this service, and this service competes with us, so give us our cut. I tend to, before making the video, I tend to bash Apple for this stance. Making the video, I understand a little more that iOS is a big install base and maybe they should get some type of cut for this, but don't be too greedy about it, I guess. And what this means for me as someone who owns an iPhone, initially probably nothing. I don't think when Xcloud comes out, I would say, okay, I can't use it on my iPhone, so I'm going to go back to Android. But it may be a further expense for me in the future because I may look for a cheap Android phone or a tablet to be able to use it on. And that depends on how well the service works, what games are offered. Because right now, I'm not sold on the streaming gaming thing, the way Stadia is working and the bandwidth it's using for people and the amount of stuff that's being offered. But I feel like Xbox is about to kind of break the mold with this type of service offering by having their catalog of games to offer. Mm, do I think it's going to stay this way? I'm hoping that Apple and Microsoft could kind of get in a room together, and I don't see how, like, you could look at the different reasons this may not work, but I don't see how at the end of the day it doesn't come down to money. So I'm hoping they can kind of get together and hash out some type of deal where this could work and everyone could be happy. Microsoft could have their service on the largest mobile platform. Apple could get a little cut of, what's going on, and gamers have a great service where they could play AAA titles for 15 bucks a month without a console, which you really can't do at this point because Stadia offers its own type of different thing that I don't think quite matches Xcloud at this point. So, if you guys have any ideas or comments why this is not going down, what the issues are, if you want to bash Microsoft or bash Apple, comment down below. Let me know how you feel, and thanks for watching.